Say the truth hurts, so you about to feel pain, and I gotta do work. God said I gotta do work, cause it's off with the name, savage truth, savage truth, it's the savage truth, the savage truth.
This is The Savage Truth, and I am your host, Pastor Roy Dockery. So, want to thank you for joining me today. This will be a YouTube video and a podcast that drops kind of out of cycle because there's something that I want to talk about specifically, and it's tied to like a merch drop. So I want to get that kind of out of cycle, but you'll still get your normal Savage Truth Tuesday information, even though you all will get this on Monday while I'm in Florida on vacation. So, what I wanted to talk about is, and for those who have been following and been tracking, right, I've done a couple of videos on this whole concept of like Black Father's Day, right? Because this year, June 19th, 2020, which is Juneteenth, also falls on Father's Day, right? So I feel like that's one of those compounding holidays that, especially as Black men, as the fathers of Black children, regardless of what the ethnicity is, that is something that should be celebrated. It's something that should be identified because it's a unique occurrence, right? It's like, it's like when your birthday is on a certain Thursday in November, but it's that year where your birthday falls on Thanksgiving. There's somewhat of a cause for an exponential celebration, right? So in that regard, for those that are familiar with the website, like I've got an area on the website that's about Black Father's Day where people can share their stories, share information, share pictures of them with their sons. And I want to build that out and not just make that something that's done this year, but it's something that we highlight moving forward. But I was talking to my little sis and my /publicist / designer, Maya, right? And she was like, well, what's like your tagline? Like, what would your tagline be for Black Father's Day? Kind of to correct the stereotypes, to correct the misperceptions. And the main thing that popped in my head was like, man, present is the new normal, right? So you can see it right here. It says present is the new normal. And the reason I say that is because the image that's pervasive about Black men in America is that we're absentee fathers. Like statistically, it's not even true. Like even when there's separations and even when you got single dads or baby daddies or baby mamas, like Black men are heavily engaged in their children's lives, whether it's sports, extracurricular activities, the amount of time we actually spend with our kids, seeing our children. So even when outside of a traditional house home, we're present, right? Like I grew up around drug dealers and gangbangers and whatever, but like they were present in their kids' lives. They may not have lived in that household, but they were at baseball games, football games. They came over on the weekends. And I mean, I'm an executive now. I've been an executive for 10 years. Like, I know people who are divorced, very successful, are not of my hue of melanin, and never see their children, right? So, but like, that's never kind of brought up in that discussion, right? I know people who ship their kids off to boarding school. Like, what is that? Like, is that engagement? Is that outsourcing? Right? There's a lot of people who outsource the parenting of their children because that's a financial thing. Like, that's seen as an economic benefit when isn't that actually like the same as like just like dropping your kids off at daycare? Is it better if I've got a nanny than taking my kids to daycare? Maybe the quality is better, but the engagement is the same because it's someone else engaging with my child. That is not me. So like present is the new normal was kind of what I thought about when like trying to reframe certain things. Like to give you tangible personal examples. Like I've been out with my daughters before, even before my son was born. And we would go to like Chuck E. Cheese or we would go to the mall or something like that. And then I would have people comment on things like, like you've got your girls this weekend. Like me and my wife were not married and that we were like rotating custody. Like, not to say that's not a thing that people do. I know a lot of people that do it, but like, why is that the assumption? Right? Or like when you see a father out with their children, it's like, oh, it must be daddy-daughter day or whatever, to the point to where like, I didn't even want to call the times that I spent with my daughters daddy-daughter day because I'm like, I'm always available for my daughters. Like I live with my daughters, like I work from home. Even though I traveled extensively, like my family is always together, right? My children are homeschooled. My wife's a stay-at-home mom and the CEO of the Dockery, the Dockery empire, right? Like, so like we're always together as a family. And I think even with as much as I traveled, like being present was a challenge, but like when I came home, I was with my family constantly, right? I was with my children constantly. And so this whole concept of being present is the new normal was something that I was thinking about for Black fathers, about Black Father's Day, because of the narrative that we're absent. But then I'm not just a Black father, right? Like, I'm also an executive and a business person. And so there's also this other narrative around like the people who travel, and that like we just love being away from our families, right? Like, I talk to people and they're like, man, I'm jealous of you, man. Like, I've been all over the world. I've been to Singapore and Malaysia and China, right? And Italy and Germany and France and, and all of these wonderful places that I've been. But like, and people are like, man, you must love being there. Like, no, the place I would rather be any day of the week is with my family, right? So there's also this stereotype or this connotation that this executive life, or for even my people who aren't executives, right? For my salespeople, my field service people, my, just my travelers, flight attendants, right? Everybody that spends a significant amount of time away from home, you spend more than 50% of your time on the road. The other thing is that like the pandemic created a new normal for me, right? I worked in healthcare for almost 12 years, and in healthcare, right, it was on-site meetings. So I had to be present, right? Like, that was the normal. I had to be physically present at the hospital. But then the pandemic hit. Now, hospitals don't want me to get on planes to come meet with the CEO, because then I could be exposing them to a risk that I'm not even aware of, because I could be asymptomatic, or my signs could not be showing yet because I got exposed to COVID on a flight. And so being present in that space became like, now we could do this virtually. Now we could teleconference like Skype hasn't existed for the last 7 years, because my customer base used to be strongly opposed to that, right? And there's a lot of things like sales calls had to be on site, right? All service calls had to be on site. Nobody wanted to help you over the phone. So being present, even from a business perspective, was normal for me leading into 2020. But not being present for my family, it was a requirement for me to be present at work, for me to be present at job sites, for me to be present at quarterly business reviews and recurring executive meetings, right? Like, I had to be present there, so then I couldn't always be present for my family as much as I wanted to be, right? But then the pandemic hit and 2020 hit, and companies that had these strict rules and cultures around like in-office work all of a sudden became remote. Right? People who were used to only seeing their kids 2 or 3 hours a day, right? Like after school drop off, after work, doing some homework, eating some dinner, bedtime, because I'm working 8 hours a day, you're in school 6 hours a day. Now we're all at home and we're all together and we're all, everybody's trying to struggle with this new norm. And it was funny at the onset of the pandemic, because people were reaching out to my wife, who's homeschooled our children for probably most like maybe 8 of the last 10 years. And so people were like asking for advice, like, how do you do this? How do you balance it? People are reaching out to me because I work from home. Like, how do you find a space? How do you not get disrupted? Because people were trying to figure out how to normalize being present and being together. And then we started seeing the Great Resignation, right? We start to see more companies say like, you know what, we can be productive. I just need my employees to be present in their function. I need my employees to be available to work. I don't need my employees to be present in this office. I don't need them to be in this building. And a lot of that has to do with the trust that that they were kind of forced to give us to a certain degree, because a lot of them didn't want to do it, but didn't have any choice when the pandemic hit. So with that, right, and even thinking through this, as I'm thinking about, like, I'm sitting here and I'm making the shirts and creating a design, and I'm like, man, like, present is the new normal is so much more than something that just applies to combating a stereotype that's familiar amongst Black men and their children, right? Present is the new normal is kind of like, it's the wave of the Great Resignation, right? It's the shift of brick and mortar companies going to remote work, right? It's the removing a location requirement from your job posting. Like, the world realizes that we have been absent. Period. Like, we've been absent from relationships. We've been absent from our children's after schools activities. We were absent from participating in our children's education because we had no idea what they were learning or what they struggle with learning until you had to help them with their homework, right? But now being present is normal. Like, present is the new normal. Like, and I don't think we should go back to a place to where we accept that that's not true, right? Like, I'm still an executive. I still travel on occasion, but like, being present at my son's t-ball games is normal, right? It should be normalized. Being present, we built a house in North Carolina in 2020. Being present in my community, weirdly enough, is now normal, right? Like being present in our community is normal because like I used to travel so much I didn't even know my neighbors, right? But from the time, my house was built early in 2020 during the pandemic, we moved in that summer. So like I've been home the entire time. Like I know my neighbors, we communicate, like we talk with each other, we talk about grass, right? Like I'm into my grass because everything was outsourced and I didn't have time to focus on what was being fertilized or what was being irrigated or what was being aerated. I had no idea, right? Like just somebody else take care of it. I don't have time. But being present is normal, right? So, and that's the thing I want to encourage everybody, right now, right? Like present is the new normal. Like don't shift back to being disconnected. Don't shift back to settling for, and even in the same time, don't settle for just virtual relationships, right? Communicate with people, connect with people. Go, have dinner with the small group of people. I'm not telling you have a party of 60 people, right? But like, go back to being present. Go back to being available, right? We exist too much in these avatars that we've created on social media. I think probably the most refreshing and freeing thing for me is not being on social media anymore. Yes, I have a YouTube channel. No, I don't really watch YouTube videos unless I'm watching my son watch Zebra Gamer. I'm not on Instagram. I'm not on Facebook. I'm not on TikTok. I'm not on Twitter. I have a LinkedIn profile because I'm an executive and a consultant, and I speak on things on different technology topics globally. So that's what my platform is, and I share my other content there as well. But one thing, like just not having that avatar, right? Like not having this digital person that I have to feed so that other people can consume that identity. Right? Like it's like I just get to be present. Like if you know what's going on in my life, it's because you're present in my life. Like if you know what I mean? Like other than that, like you might tune into YouTube on occasion. And normally I record these in bulk. So this will probably be the only video you'll get from me that's within a week of me recording it. Because normally this stuff is recorded and you're listening to my thoughts from a month ago. Sometimes from 2 months ago, depending on how long how many episodes I batch recorded because of travel schedule, because of family, because of trying to be present. Even this right now, like I'm clipping this out of the middle of a Saturday afternoon so I can get this done before I go build some bookshelves with my daughters so I can transfer some of these books that I've already read upstairs so I can start filling this up. But like just being present, right? Like love spending time. I told somebody the other day, like, the only thing I want in life right now, right? And everyone knows, like Pastor Roy got lots of shoes. I collected some Funko Pops. I think I'm full back here unless somebody else finds me a limited edition like Hamilton Funko Pop. But right, like the only thing I want now is just time. That's what I want, time. I took my wife shopping the other day because she wanted some more running shoes. So she's been running with one of our neighbors. And shout out to Rhonda for partnering with my wife in her activity. But she needed some new shoes and we're going to the store. And for anybody who knows any videos, my wife is very frugal. I won't call her cheap. She's very frugal. But like you need some good shoes. Like she's out there, doing 4 or 5 miles, 3, sometimes 4 times a week. And I'm like, look, like instead of like stop buying these less expensive shoes, let's go to like Dick's Sporting Goods and get you some good running shoes. So we're looking at Asics and Brooks and all that other stuff. And my wife's like checking out all the shoes. She's putting them on. She's walking around the store. And I'm just present, right? Like, and it's surprising to my wife because I asked her, I was like, can I just go with you? Like, I just want to go with you. Like, we've got, got my sis Maya at the house. She can watch, she can live over the kids. They can take care of themselves. I'm like, I just want to be with you. And so as she was trying on shoes, one thing that she said to me, she looked at me and she was like, thank you for being patient. Cause she had looked, I think she tried on like 6 or 7 pairs of shoes. And what I told her, I said, I'm like, you don't need my patience because you have my time, right? Like that. I mean, for everybody, like I'm patient with a lot of people. I'm patient at work, right? I'm patient when I'm sitting on hold. I'm patient when I'm waiting in line. But that's because that's something that often I'm wasting time on or someone's wasting my time. But like when I'm spending time with my wife, there's nothing like when I'm present, like that's not, it's never wasted, right? It's never wasted because that's what I want. Like I want time with my wife. I want time with my children, right? Like I want time with my family because it's more impactful to be present, right? Everybody knows that the brand for the Savage Truth Network for me personally, Roy Dockery, if you go to my website, is impact, impress, imprint, right? Like the last couple of years have shown me, or the last decade of my life has shown me that it's more important to have impact and to leave an impression that puts an imprint on people's lives, right? That means you think about me and my wife made these leather bound journals, right? And you take the letterhead, and or you kind of take a letter point, almost looks like a typewriter point from back in the day, and you press it into the leather, right? So like it takes some impact, and then you have to make an impression, but then you've got to hold the impression long enough and with enough force for it to leave a lasting imprint. So when we did it the first time, some of our letters were a little light. We had to go back and we had to apply more pressure. We had to put more force behind it, right? So the how long your impact lasts depends on the amount of force you put behind your impression, right? Because you got to put a lot of force. You got to put you've got to be present. You can't just touch it and walk away. That's not going to leave an imprint. Right. So, like people can make an impression in your life for a day, but then they're gone. So sometimes it doesn't leave a lasting imprint. So sometimes that being present in that stage of impressing something upon somebody, impressing an opinion, impressing a value, impressing characteristics, behaviors on people is important. So like present needs to be the new normal. Right? If you want to make an impact, if you want to leave an impression, if you want to have a lasting imprint in organizations, in churches, in your family, in the lives of the people that you come across, then we need to be present. So that's the new thing that I have. That's kind of the chat for the day. Like I said, this expounded to more than what I thought it was going to be. It started as kind of like, the Black Father's Day thing. For those that don't know, because I don't talk about things very often because I'm bad at marketing. I can be honest about that. So I'm going to do something I don't normally do, which is I'm going to show everybody, right? I'm going to show you. We're going to go to the website, which has been rebuilt as well. Hello, that is me, Roy Dockery. So on the website, got a lot of stuff on the website, like under the art section, right? You've got the link to the podcast. You got the link to the YouTube videos. You got some blog posts that I've written over the years. You've got Water for the Root, which is the film I produced. You can check out information on that as well. And then we got like the Black Father's Day section down here, which you can check out a couple of the videos that I dropped on Black Father's Day and what's that about. But like I said, being present is the new normal is kind of bigger than that, right? I think it has a much broader reach than that, especially in this post-pandemic world. So when you're on the website, you can go to the shop. You see the shop over here, right? We got t-shirts on here. My devotional book, The Savage Truth, is on here. You can get a digital copy of the album that I dropped on April 4th, entitled Discontinue. If y'all didn't know, yes, I do also do Christian hip hop. I have done it for 20 years. I dropped that album on April 4th. More than likely the last album I will ever drop, just because I got a lot of other stuff to do, and also why it's entitled Discontinue. So feel free to check that out. It is on all the platforms, iTunes, Spotify, whatever. If you type in Pastor Roy, you'll pull up like the Worthy album, the Savage Truth album, as well as Discontinue. So if you go on here, and I know I'm scrolling up and down because my hands like to move. So the present is the new normal. We got other designs up here. We got Don't Pray on Me from my sis Maya, right? We got Read the Room, which I love. Everybody at my job keep buying the Read the Room shirt so we can wear it on conference calls and all hands meetings, right? So like read your audience. If everybody cutting their camera off, it's probably because they're not talking to you anymore, not paying attention to you anymore, and you've been talking too much about the same subject or something that's just not interesting. We got the Impact, Impress, Imprint shirt here, which is available as well. Then we've got the Rejoice, right? Philippians 4:4, in all things rejoice. So this is a kind of cool design that shows like all the things that can be bothering us: frustration, depression, poverty, anxiety. Yet we rejoice through it all. Make Racism Illegal, which is a classic shirt we've had for a while. The I'm a Christian shirt, about that action, right? Like faith without works is dead. So, got to be about that action. Also a song off of the Discontinued album. I'm a Christian is also a song off the Discontinued album, and it's the snip of it that you hear at the end of all of our YouTube videos that you all have been hearing on my podcast for like almost 3 years now. But I finally actually released the song to the public that features my man Amel, aka Equipped, who is also my producer. Got the Go God shirts, the Savage Truth shirts, and then the present is the new normal. So the shirt that I'm wearing is what I call the Aggie Pride combo, because I'm a proud graduate of North Carolina A&T State University, HBCU, Greensboro, North Carolina. So our colors are blue and gold. So this is the blue and gold right here. This is what I'm currently wearing, matched with these shoes that, I did actually have on earlier today. We've got it in several colors. When it comes to sizes, hey, if for my tall people out there, for my extra small people out there, if there's a size that you need that you don't see, just click this other sizes box. We will get the size for you. I just didn't want to have 8,000 SKUs trying to identify every possible size in the world. So grab a size. If you extra small, if you need a 4XL, if you need a 3XL T because you're tall, like my man Eton Thomas was, I had to always get special shirts for him because he's like 7 foot tall, NBA player. Make sure you do that. And then all of that stuff there. So that's it there. If anybody's local, right? If you're in Greensboro, you can do a local pickup option, so you're not paying for shipping. Make sure you select that, and then we can arrange an opportunity for you to pick up. So wanted to put that out there because people always get on me for not, people see me wearing the shirt, be like, oh, where you can get that from? Well, now the answer is always roydockery.org. Go to the website, click on the shop. 9 times out of 10, what you see me wearing, you can probably buy on the website. And you can do what's called the Savage Choice from a color perspective. If you pick the Savage Choice, that means I'm going to personally make you something in a color that we don't normally carry, right? So it's not going to be your normal white, black, gray, red, or whatever. I'm going to go and buy a shirt specifically for you and then design that shirt specifically for you. So check out the Savage Choice. It's a popular option. You can do that on any shirt in the store, and you'll basically get a limited edition shirt from me personally, because I do actually make all of our merchandise. It's just one of the things I enjoy doing. It's kind of a calming activity. It's kind of like meditation. But that's all I got for y'all today. Like I said, let's make this the new normal. Let's set the standard that we need to be present. We need to be present for our families. We need to be, when we're at work, we need to be present, right? When we're virtual, when we're physically there, it doesn't matter. Because the truth is, we all need a little bit more connectivity. We all need a little bit more community. We all need a little bit more fellowship. So let's make it happen and make present the new normal. So thank y'all for joining me on The Savage Truth. I know that was 20 minutes, but sometimes y'all hang out with me for 45 minutes if I'm preaching. So I appreciate you joining us today. And yeah, God bless y'all. Y'all have a good day. Happy Monday. I'll be in Florida chilling. So hope y'all enjoy the work day. I'll be back to the grind on Wednesday. So God bless y'all. Like I always say, please don't judge Christ by Christians. Judge Christ by Christ. Read his words. Let him testify to his own philosophy. And then let me know what you think. God bless you. Peace out.
They keep asking who I am. I just tell them I'm a Christian. Occupation, a description. I just tell them I'm a Christian. Nationality, ethnicity. I tell them I'm a Christian. Keep the hyphens in division.